What if the smartest person in the room is not the one with the highest IQ? What if intelligence has nothing to do with information and everything to do with perception? Think about it. Have you ever trusted the wrong person because they looked honest, followed bad advice because it sounded convincing, reacted emotionally to something that later turned out to be a trap? Most people have, and most never realize why. They spend their entire lives believing they see reality clearly. They believe people say what they mean. They believe actions are driven by principles. They believe intelligence means knowing more facts than everyone else. Most people react emotionally, and they lose. Machiavelli understood something far darker. The world is not controlled by information. It is controlled by interpretation. The people who rise above others are rarely those who see more. They are the ones who see deeper. They notice motives hidden beneath words. They recognize incentives hidden beneath behavior. They understand that human nature follows patterns most people never bother to study. That is where real intelligence begins. Not in knowledge, in perception. This is not about becoming paranoid. It is not about distrusting everyone around you. It is about learning how the game is actually played, so you stop becoming an easy piece on somebody else's board. Because once you learn to see what drives people, what blinds them, what controls them, and what influences them, something changes forever. You stop reacting. You start understanding. And by the end of this video, you will understand 8 Machiavellian principles that can make you extraordinarily intelligent or extraordinarily dangerous. The choice depends entirely on how you use them. And pay close attention to the final principle. Because once you cross that threshold, you will never look at people the same way again. First, the dangerous question: why intelligent people stop accepting reality at face value. Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling that something was wrong, yet you could not explain why? The words sounded reasonable. The story seemed believable. The situation appeared normal, yet somewhere in the back of your mind, a small warning refused to disappear. Most people ignore that warning. They accept appearances. They trust first impressions. They assume what they see is all there is to see. That habit feels comfortable because questioning reality requires effort. It requires doubt. It requires the willingness to admit that obvious answers are often designed for easy consumption. Machiavelli noticed a truth that separates strategists from followers. Human beings rarely present reality exactly as it is. They present reality in the form that benefits them most. Appearances are crafted. Narratives are managed. Perceptions are guided. The intelligent person learns to examine the motive behind the presentation instead of accepting the presentation itself. Hear that again. Imagine a workplace where a colleague constantly appears helpful and cooperative. Everyone praises their attitude. Everyone trusts their intentions. Months later, promotions arrive, and somehow that same colleague has quietly positioned themselves above everyone else. Nothing they did looked aggressive. Nothing they did looked threatening. Yet every move served a larger objective. The signs were visible. The interpretation was wrong. The protocol is simple. When someone tells you something, ask what outcome that information creates. When someone behaves a certain way, ask who benefits. When a situation appears obvious, ask what remains hidden. Do not become paranoid. Become observant. There is a difference. Observation seeks understanding. Paranoia seeks fear. The most dangerous people are rarely the loudest. They are the people operating behind assumptions nobody bothers to question. The moment you develop the habit of looking beyond appearances, manipulation becomes harder. Deception becomes easier to detect. Influence becomes easier to understand. Because reality is rarely dangerous. Unquestioned reality is. The person who accepts every appearance becomes easy to guide. The person who questions appearances begins seeing the machinery underneath. And once you start seeing that machinery, another obstacle immediately appears: your own emotions. Second, the emotional blindfold: how feelings quietly destroy judgment. Have you ever sent a message you later regretted, made a decision while angry, trusted someone because you felt lonely, defended a position simply because admitting you were wrong felt uncomfortable? Everyone has. That is exactly why emotions are so dangerous. Most people believe their feelings help them understand reality. They assume strong emotions reveal truth. In practice, emotions often distort perception. They magnify threats. They exaggerate opportunities. They transform temporary reactions into permanent decisions. And those decisions create consequences. Machiavelli saw that the first person controlled during any conflict is usually the person controlled by emotion. Anger exposes priorities. Fear exposes vulnerabilities. Desperation exposes dependence. The moment emotions take command, strategic thinking moves into the background. That's not paranoia. That's awareness. Imagine receiving unexpected criticism from someone you respect. Instantly you feel attacked. Your heart accelerates. Your mind searches for a response. Most people react immediately. They defend themselves. They argue. They explain. Hours later they realize the reaction created more damage than the criticism itself. The emotion was temporary. The consequence remained. The protocol begins with a simple rule. Delay reaction. When emotions rise, do not rush decisions. Do not rush responses. Do not rush conclusions. Create distance between feeling and action. That small gap is where judgment returns. The strongest move is often waiting, not forever, just long enough. A calm mind notices details an emotional mind cannot see. Motives become clearer. Risks become clearer. Opportunities become clearer. What felt urgent suddenly becomes manageable. This is why emotional control creates power. It allows you to see reality before reacting to it. Most people never develop that ability. They spend years becoming prisoners of moods, impulses, and temporary feelings. The strategist chooses differently. Feel the emotion. Study the emotion. Never surrender to the emotion. The person who controls their emotions controls their decisions. The person who controls their decisions controls their direction. And once emotions stop clouding your vision, you begin noticing something even more valuable: what other people truly want. Like this video and subscribe if you're starting to see the hidden game. Third, the hidden motive. Learn to see what people never say out loud. Have you ever listened to someone speak and felt that their words were not the real message? Everything sounded polite. Everything sounded reasonable. Yet something beneath the surface seemed far more important than what was actually being said. That feeling exists for a reason. Most people focus entirely on language. They listen to explanations, promises, and statements. They judge intentions through words alone. Unfortunately, words are often the least reliable part of any interaction because people reveal objectives indirectly, rarely directly. Machiavelli noticed that human beings are driven by incentives: status, security, influence, attention, control, recognition. These motives often operate beneath conscious awareness. People may not even admit them to themselves. Yet those hidden objectives quietly shape behavior every single day. Hear that again. Imagine a friend who constantly discourages your new ambitions. Their advice sounds concerned. Their tone sounds supportive. Their reasoning appears logical. But months later, you realize every warning pushed you toward staying exactly where you were. The words offered caution. The motive protected comfort. A man once discovered that his most enthusiastic supporter became strangely negative every time success moved closer. The friendship did not change when he struggled. It changed when he started winning. That detail revealed everything. The protocol is simple. Stop listening only to what people say. Watch what they reward. Watch what they resist. Watch what changes when circumstances change. Behavior exposes motives far more accurately than language ever will. Patterns matter. Reactions matter. Consistency matters. The hidden objective usually reveals itself through repetition. You are not looking for villains. You are looking for incentives. That distinction matters because incentives explain actions that words cannot explain. Once you understand what somebody wants, their decisions become easier to predict. Their contradictions become easier to understand. Their influence becomes easier to resist. Most people hear the message. Strategists identify the motive. The message can be manufactured. The motive usually cannot. And once you learn to recognize hidden motives, a completely different level of intelligence becomes available. Because the next lesson teaches you how to think clearly, while everyone else becomes trapped inside their reactions. Fourth, the strategic detachment. Think clearly, while everyone else reacts. Have you ever watched a situation explode because someone reacted too quickly? A disagreement became a feud. A misunderstanding became a betrayal. A single emotional decision created consequences that lasted for years. In those moments, everyone is moving fast, speaking fast, and thinking emotionally. That is where most people lose. They confuse reaction with strength. They believe immediate responses demonstrate confidence. They assume every challenge requires instant action. The result is predictable. Emotions take control. Judgment disappears. And they end up serving somebody else's agenda instead of their own. Machiavelli understood something uncomfortable. The person who reacts first often surrenders information first. Every emotional response reveals priorities. Every impulsive action exposes pressure points. Every uncontrolled reaction gives observant people valuable intelligence. Imagine receiving unexpected criticism in front of others. One person immediately defends themselves. Their voice changes. Their frustration becomes visible. Everyone now understands exactly where their insecurity lives. Another person listens, remains composed, and responds only after assessing the situation. One revealed weakness, the other gathered information. That difference changes outcomes. Strategic detachment is not emotional numbness. It is emotional discipline. The goal is not to stop feeling. The goal is to stop allowing feelings to make decisions for you. When tension appears, step back mentally before stepping forward physically. Observe the situation. Identify incentives. Understand consequences. Then decide. Most people reverse that order. They decide first. They understand later. The practical move is simple. Whenever pressure rises, delay commitment. Delay conclusions. Delay emotional responses. Give yourself enough distance to see the situation clearly. Clarity creates options. Options create leverage. The calmest person often controls the direction of the interaction because they are responding to reality rather than reacting to emotion. Others become trapped inside the moment. You remain above it. That is where strategy lives. The emotional person becomes predictable. The detached person becomes difficult to manipulate. And once you stop being controlled by reactions, another pattern becomes visible everywhere around you. Human weakness. Drop a comment if you've ever experienced this kind of hidden psychology. Fifth, the human weakness code. Predict behavior before it happens. Have you ever met someone and correctly predicted exactly what they would do weeks later? Maybe they betrayed a confidence. Maybe they chased attention. Maybe they abandoned principles the moment pressure appeared. When it happened, you were not surprised. The signs existed from the beginning. Most people ignore those signs because they focus on promises instead of patterns. They listen to intentions instead of observing behavior. They trust what people claim they will do rather than studying what they repeatedly do. That mistake creates endless disappointment. Machiavelli recognized that human nature follows incentives more consistently than ideals. People speak through values but act through desires. Status, security, recognition, comfort, influence, these forces quietly shape decisions long before actions become visible. That's not cynicism, that's observation. Imagine someone who constantly seeks approval from everyone around them. At first it appears harmless. Months later, a conflict emerges. Suddenly they abandon previous commitments because maintaining approval matters more than maintaining consistency. The outcome surprises everyone except the person who recognized the pattern early. A colleague once spent years wondering why certain partnerships always collapsed. Eventually, he noticed the same trait in every failed relationship. He judged words immediately and behavior eventually. The order should have been reversed. That realization changed everything. The protocol is straightforward. Stop asking what people say they value. Watch what they sacrifice for. Watch what they protect. Watch what they pursue repeatedly. Patterns reveal priorities. Priorities predict decisions. Once you understand somebody's strongest incentive, future behavior becomes easier to anticipate. Not perfectly, but accurately enough to avoid many traps that catch everyone else. You begin noticing who seeks power, who seeks comfort, who seeks attention, who seeks control. Each motive creates predictable choices under pressure. That knowledge is powerful because prediction creates preparation. Preparation reduces vulnerability. Vulnerability is what manipulators depend on most. The crowd studies personalities. Strategists study incentives. Personalities can be performed. Incentives eventually expose themselves. And once you learn to read human weakness, you discover one final truth about influence that most people spend their entire lives misunderstanding: the power of appearances. Sixth, the power of controlled deception. Why appearances rule human nature. Have you ever discovered that someone was completely different from the image they projected? The confident leader was insecure. The generous friend was self-interested. The trustworthy partner was hiding important truths. Reality existed, but appearance controlled perception, and perception controlled behavior. Most people believe decisions are made according to facts. They assume people evaluate reality objectively. They imagine truth automatically wins. Real life rarely operates that way. Human beings respond to what they believe is true long before they discover what actually is. That is why appearances matter. Machiavelli understood that perception shapes opportunity. People judge competence before they verify competence. They judge confidence before they verify confidence. They judge authority before they verify authority. Whether that tendency is fair becomes irrelevant once you recognize how common it is. Hear that again. Imagine two professionals entering the same room. One appears uncertain despite possessing genuine expertise. The other communicates certainty despite having less ability. Before evidence appears, assumptions form. Doors open. Attention shifts. Influence accumulates. The appearance moved first. Reality arrived later. This principle is often misunderstood. Controlled deception is not about living a lie. It is not about fraud. It is not about manipulation for its own sake. It is about understanding that presentation affects interpretation. The protocol is simple. Control what you communicate. Control what you reveal. Control how you carry yourself. Make sure your appearance aligns with your objectives. Confidence should support competence. Discipline should support reputation. Consistency should support trust. When image and reality work together, influence increases naturally. Most people neglect perception completely. Others obsess over perception alone. Both approaches fail. The strongest position combines substance and presentation. Reality provides the foundation. Appearance opens the door. Without substance, influence eventually collapses. Without presentation, influence often never begins. People do not respond to reality first. They respond to perception first. And the person who understands that principle understands something most never will. The world is not controlled by what people see. It is controlled by what people believe they see. And the final lesson reveals how masters of strategy use that truth to reshape entire interactions. Comment deeper if you can handle the last lesson. Seventh, the psychological chessboard. Make others move exactly where you want. Have you ever left a conversation believing you made your own decision, only to realize later that somebody carefully guided you toward it? No threats, no pressure, no obvious manipulation, yet somehow the outcome benefited them perfectly. That is how real influence works. Most people try controlling others directly. They argue harder, demand compliance, force opinions, push resistance head-on. The problem is simple. Human beings hate feeling controlled. The moment people sense pressure, they instinctively push back. That resistance destroys influence. Machiavelli pointed that the most effective strategist rarely forces movement. Instead, they shape conditions. They arrange incentives. They create environments where the desired choice begins looking like the natural choice. Hear that again. Imagine a manager who wants a team member to take responsibility for a difficult project. One approach is direct pressure. Another approach is highlighting opportunities, visibility, and future rewards connected to the task. Suddenly the decision feels voluntary. Even though the path was carefully constructed beforehand, the outcome remains identical. The method changes everything. Think about daily life. People are constantly responding to incentives they barely notice. Recognition, security, status, belonging, freedom. These invisible forces quietly guide decisions more effectively than commands ever could. That is the real chessboard. The protocol begins with observation. Identify what drives people. Identify what they fear. Identify what they desire. Then structure interactions around those motivations instead of your own assumptions. When incentives align correctly, resistance decreases naturally. Cooperation becomes easier. Outcomes become more predictable. This is not about controlling minds. It is about understanding behavior. Most people focus on actions. Strategists focus on causes. Actions are symptoms. Motives are engines. The person who understands motives gains influence before conversations even begin. They stop reacting to surface behavior and start shaping the conditions beneath it. That changes everything. Because influence is rarely about forcing movement. It is about making movement feel self-directed. The person who pushes creates resistance. The person who guides creates momentum. And once you understand that principle, you arrive at the final threshold, the lesson that changes how you see every interaction for the rest of your life. Eighth, the monster threshold, the final principle that changes how you see everyone forever. Have you ever experienced a moment when reality suddenly looked different? A single realization connected dozens of past experiences. Betrayals made sense. Manipulation made sense. Hidden agendas made sense. It felt as though a curtain had been pulled away. Most people never cross that threshold, not because they cannot, because they do not want to. The truth is uncomfortable. Human beings prefer simple stories. Good people, bad people, honest intentions, fair outcomes, predictable morality. Those beliefs feel safe because they reduce complexity. Unfortunately, reality is usually more complicated than the stories people tell themselves. Machiavelli understood this better than most. Human nature contains generosity and selfishness, loyalty and opportunism, courage and fear. People often act according to incentives, circumstances, and personal interests long before they act according to ideals. That's not cynicism, that's clarity. The dangerous mistake is believing everyone operates according to the same principles you do. That assumption creates vulnerability. It causes people to trust too quickly, forgive too easily, and ignore warning signs that later become painful lessons. Imagine discovering that somebody you trusted completely had been pursuing their own advantage the entire time. Looking back, the evidence was visible. Small inconsistencies, strange reactions, subtle contradictions, nothing dramatic, just enough clues to reveal the truth after the damage was done. Most people experience that lesson eventually. Few learn from it completely. A brief story. One man spent years believing honesty guaranteed honesty in return. After several betrayals, he finally changed one habit. He stopped judging people by his standards and started judging them by their behavior. His mistakes immediately became less frequent. That shift matters. The protocol is simple. Observe more. Assume less. Trust slowly. Verify consistently. Accept that human beings are capable of both virtue and self-interest at the same time. Once you understand that reality, disappointment decreases because expectations become more accurate. This is the monster threshold, not because it turns you into something cruel, because it removes illusions. The naive person sees what they hope is true. The strategist sees what repeatedly proves itself true. And once you cross that line, you can never fully return. Because awareness changes the game forever. Now you understand why most people never see the world clearly. They see words. You see motives. They follow appearances. You question appearances. They react emotionally. You observe before moving. And that single difference changes everything. Because intelligence is not about knowing more facts than everyone else. It is about seeing what others miss, the hidden incentive, the silent weakness, the invisible force guiding decisions behind the scenes. Once you see those patterns, you cannot unsee them. That is why these principles are dangerous. In the right hands, they create awareness. In the wrong hands, they create manipulation. The choice is yours. So now I want to know, which principle hit you the hardest? Was it the emotional blindfold, the hidden motive, or the monster threshold? Comment below with the number. And if you're serious about understanding power, psychology, human nature, and the Machiavellian mindset, subscribe and join the few who refuse to move through life blind. Because the greatest advantage is not strength, it is seeing the game before everyone else realizes they're playing it.